Hello, sixth graders. It is me, Mrs. James, here to read another chapter of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. We stopped on page 71, so please get your books out and let's get to page 71. The last thing that we read was Welcome to Diagon Alley. That is also the title of this chapter. We don't know what Diagon Alley is. We have no idea. We just know that Hagrid, he did something with his wand or with his umbrella and was like up one, up, da, 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 and then it opened. And it was like the brick wall opened to this magical world. And so we know that we are getting ready to walk down Diagon Alley. And we have got to see what it's all about. This chapter is super long. And it's got lots of details in it. So please, please, please try to pay attention. And also we might break this up into two more into another. I might not read the whole chapter today. Yeah, this is long. It's still going. It's still going. All right, so it ends on page 87. So yeah, we'll probably read to maybe page 80 or so, 79 or 80. All right, are we there? Are we ready? Is Errol ready? Are you ready, Errol? Oh gosh, Errol. Oh gosh, hold on everybody. Pause. See, he's nice. I think he wants, the other day, he had a really great time with one of the students. They were holding him so nice. So maybe he wants that. Okay, Errol, sit down. Sit down and be nice. Okay. You want to wear a crown? Selena made this. Oh, look at Errol. He's so cute. Okay, for real. Stay focused, Miss James. You're doing too much yapping. All right, here we go, everybody. Everyone, pay attention. Page 71, middle of the page, about right there. Whoa. About right there. Welcome, said Hagrid, to Diagon Alley. Yay! He grinned at Harry's amazement. They stepped through the archway. Harry looked quickly over his shoulder and saw the archway shrink instantly back into solid wall. I've been putting an M next to things in my book that I've noticed, like, is that magic? It's gotta be magic, right? The sun shone brightly on a stack of cauldrons outside the nearest shop. Cauldrons, all sizes, copper, brass, pewter, silver, self-stirring, collapsible, and a sign hanging over them. Do you guys know what cauldrons are? They're like a big black bowl that the witches brew things in. Okay, so they had all kinds of cauldrons here. And Hagrid says this. He says, "Yep, you'll be needing one," said Hagrid, "but we gotta get your money first." Harry wished he had about 8 more eyes. He turned his head in every direction as they walked up the street, trying to look at everything at once. The shops, the things outside them, the people doing their shopping. A plump woman outside an apothecary was shaking her head as they passed, saying, "Dragon liver, 16 sickles an ounce. They're mad." A low, soft hooting came from a dark shop with a sign saying, "Ellipse Owl Emporium. Tawny, Screech, Barn, Brown, and Snowy." This is like an owl place, a place where owls are. Several boys about Harry's age had their noses pressed against a window with broomsticks in it. "Look," Harry heard one of them say, "the new Nimbus 2000, fastest ever." There were shops selling robes, shops selling telescopes and strange silver instruments Harry had never seen before. Windows stacked with barrels of bat spleens and eel's eyes, tottering piles of spell books, quills, and rolls of parchment, potion bottles, globes of the moon. "Gringotts," said Hagrid. They had reached the snowy white building that towered over the other little shops. Standing beside its burnished bronze doors, wearing a uniform of scarlet and gold, was, "Yeah, that's a goblin," said Hagrid quietly as they walked up the white stone steps toward him. The goblin was about a head shorter than Harry. He had a swarthy, clever face, a pointed beard, and Harry noticed very long fingers and feet. He bowed as they walked inside. Now they were facing a second pair of doors, silver this time, with the words engraved upon them. Enter, stranger, but take heed of what waits the sin of greed. For those who take but do not earn must pay most dearly in their turn. If you seek beneath our floors a treasure that was never yours, thief, you have been warned, beware of finding more than treasure there. So that is a warning against anyone who tries to steal anything from this bank. Like I said, you'd be mad to try and rob it, said Hagrid. A pair of goblins bowed them through the silver doors, and they were in a vast marble hall. About 100 more goblins were sitting on high stools behind a long counter, scribbling in large ledgers, weighing coins in brass scales, examining precious stones through eyeglasses. There were too many doors to count leading off the hall, and yet more goblins were showing people in and out of these. Hagrid and Harry made for the counter. Morning, said Hagrid to a free goblin. We've come to take some money out of Mr. Harry Potter's safe. You have his key, sir? Got somewhere, said Hagrid, and he started emptying his pockets onto the counter, scattering a handful of moldy dog biscuits over the goblin's book of numbers. The goblin wrinkled his nose. Harry watched the goblin on their right weighing a pile of rubies, as big as glowing coals. Got it, said Hagrid at last, holding up a tiny golden key. The goblin looked at it closely. That seems to be in order. And I've also got a letter here from Professor Dumbledore, said Hagrid importantly, throwing out his chest. It's about the you-know-what in Vault 713. The goblin read the letter carefully. Very well, he said, handing it back to Hagrid. I will have someone take you down to both vaults. Griphook! Griphook was yet another goblin. Once, Hagrid had crammed all the dog biscuits back inside his pockets. He and Harry followed Griphook toward one of the doors leading off the hall. What's the you-know-what in Vault 713? Harry asked. Can't tell you that, said Hagrid mysteriously. Very secret. Hogwarts business. Dumbledore's trusted me. More'n my job's worth to tell you that. Griphook held the door open for them. Harry, who had expected more marble, was surprised. They were in a narrow stone passageway lit with flaming torches. It sloped steeply downward, and there were little railway tracks on the floor. Griphook whistled, and a small cart came hurtling up the tracks toward them. They climbed in, Hagrid with some difficulty, and were off. At first, they just hurtled through a maze of twisting passages. Harry tried to remember left, right, left, middle, fork, right, left, but it was impossible. The rattling cart seemed to know its own way because Griphook wasn't steering. Harry's eyes stung as the cold air rushed past them, but he kept them wide open. Once he thought he saw a burst of fire at the end of a passage and twisted around to see if it was a dragon, but too late. They plunged even deeper, passing an underground lake where huge stalactites and stalagmites grew from the ceiling and floor. I never know, Harry called to Hagrid over the noise of the cart. What's the difference between stalagmite and stalactite? Stalagmite's got an M in it, said Hagrid. And don't ask me questions now. I think I'm going to be sick. So remember, we're at the top of page 75 now, sixth graders. They're like in this deep tunnel underneath Gringotts, which is the bank. And they're going this way and that way and this way and that way and so and so and so. And they don't, it's just like, like a roller coaster almost. Top of page 75. He did look very green, and when the cart stopped at last beside a small door in the passage wall, Hagrid got out and had to lean against the wall to stop his knees from trembling. Griphook unlocked the door. A lot of green smoke came billowing out, and as it cleared, Harry gasped. Inside were mounds of gold coins, columns of silver, heaps of little brown newts. All yours, smiled Hagrid. All Harry's. It was incredible. The Dursleys couldn't have known about this, or they'd have had it from him faster than blinking. How often had they complained how much Harry cost them to keep? And all the time there had been a small fortune belonging to him buried deep under London. Hagrid helped Harry pile some of it into a bag. The gold ones are galleons, he explained. 17 silver sickles to a galleon and 29 newts to a sickle. It's easy enough, right? That should be enough for a couple of terms. We'll keep the rest safe for you. He turned to Griphook. Vault 713 now, please, and can we go more slowly? Where did this money come from? For Harry, it came from his parents. They left it for him in here, and they grabbed a little, but they kept the rest there. One speed only, said Griphook. They were going even deeper now and gathering speed. The air became colder and colder as they hurtled round tight corners. They went rattling over an underground ravine, and Harry leaned over the side to try to see what was down at the dark bottom. But Hagrid groaned and pulled him back by the scruff of his neck. Vault 713 had no keyhole. Stand back, said Griphook importantly. He stroked the door gently with one of his long fingers, and it simply melted away. There's some more magic, I think. If anyone but a Gringotts goblin tried that, they'd be sucked through the door and trapped in there, said Griphook. How often do you check to see if anyone's inside? Harry asked. About once every 10 years, said Griphook with a rather nasty grin. Something really extraordinary had to be inside this top security vault, Harry was sure, and he leaned forward eagerly, expecting to see fabulous jewels at the very least. But at first he thought it was empty. Then he noticed a grubby little package wrapped up in brown paper lying on the floor. Hagrid picked it up and tucked it deep inside his coat. Harry longed to know what it was, but he knew better than to ask. Come on, back in this infernal cart, and don't talk to me on the way back. It's best if I keep my mouth shut, said Hagrid. Why does he not want him to talk to him? It's not because he's saying that he's being mean. He's like, I'm dizzy, I'm gonna be sick, please just don't even talk to me, right? One wild cart ride later, they stood blinking in the sunlight outside Gringotts. Harry didn't know where to run first now that he had got a bag full of money. He didn't have to know how many galleons there were to a pound to know that he was holding more money than he'd had in his whole life, more money than even Dudley had ever had. Might as well get your uniform, said Hagrid, nodding toward Madame Malkin's robe for all occasions. Listen, Harry, would you mind if I slipped off for a pick-me-up in the leaky cauldron? I hate them Gringotts carts. He did still look a bit sick, so Harry entered Madame Malkin's shop alone, feeling nervous. Madame Malkin was a squat, smiling witch, dressed in all mauve. Mauve is like a dark pink. Top of page 77. Hogwarts, dear, she said when Harry started to speak. Got a lot here. Another young man being fitted up just now, in fact. In the back of the shop, a boy with a pale, pointed face was standing on a footstool, while a second witch pinned up his long black robes. Madame Malkin stood Harry on a stool next to him, slipped a long robe over his head, and began to pin it to the right length. Hello, said the boy. Hogwarts too? Yes, said Harry. My father's next door buying my books, and mother's up the street looking at wands, said the boy. He had a bored, drawling voice. Then I'm going to drag them off to look at racing brooms. I don't see why first years can't have their own. I think I'll bully father into getting me one, and I'll smuggle it in somehow. Harry was strongly reminded of Dudley. So do you think he liked this boy at his first impression? No. Have you got your own broom? The boy went on. No, said Harry. Play Quidditch at all? No, said Harry said again, wondering what on earth Quidditch could be. I do. Father says it's a crime if I'm not picked to play for my house, and I must say I agree. Know what house you'll be in yet? No, Harry said, feeling more stupid by the minute. Well, no one really knows until they get there, do they? But I know I'll be a Slytherin. A Slytherin? I wonder what that is. Let's circle that. All our family have been. Imagine being in Hufflepuff. I think I'd leave. Wouldn't you? These are lots of new words, lots of new characters and new words. I think I'd leave, wouldn't you? Top of page 78. Said Harry, wishing he could say something a bit more interesting. I say, look at that man, said the boy, suddenly nodding toward the front window. Hagrid was standing there, grinning at Harry and pointing at 2 large ice creams to show he couldn't come in. That's Hagrid, said Harry, pleased to know something the boy didn't. He works at Hogwarts. Oh, said the boy, I've heard of him. He's sort of a servant, isn't he? He's the gamekeeper, said Harry. He was liking the boy less and less every second. Yes, exactly. I heard he's sort of a savage. Lives in a hut on the school grounds, and every now and then he gets drunk. Tries to do magic and ends up setting fire to his bed. I think he's brilliant, said Harry coldly. Do you? Said the boy with a slight sneer. Why is he with you? Where are your parents? They're dead, Harry said shortly. He didn't feel much like going into the matter with this boy. Oh, sorry, said the other, not sounding sorry at all. But they were our kind, weren't they? They were a witch and wizard, if that's what you mean. I really don't think they should let the other sort in, do you? They're just not the same. They've never been brought up to know our ways. Some of them have never even heard of Hogwarts until they get the letter. Imagine. I think they should keep it in the old wizarding families. What's your surname, anyway? Before Harry could answer, Madame Malkin said, That's you done, my dear. And Harry, not sorry for an excuse to stop talking to the boy, hopped down from the footstool. Well, I'll see you at Hogwarts, I suppose, said the drawling boy. Harry was rather quiet as he ate ice cream Hagrid had bought him, chocolate and raspberry with chopped nuts. What's up? Said Hagrid. Nothing, Harry lied. They stopped to buy parchment and quills. Quills are like pins with big feathers on them. I'm sure you've seen those before. Harry cheered up a bit when he found a bottle of ink that changed color as you wrote. When he had left the shop, he said, Hagrid, what's Quidditch?
Blimey, Harry, I keep forgetting how little you know. Not knowing about Quidditch.
Don't make me feel worse, said Harry. He told Hagrid about the pale boy and Madame Malkins. And he said people from Muggle families shouldn't even be allowed in.
You're not from a Muggle family. If he'd known who you were, he's grown up knowing your name, even if his parents are wizarding folk. You saw what everyone in the Leaky Cauldron was like when they saw you. Anyway, what does he know about it? Some of the best I ever saw were the only ones with magic in them in a long line of muggles. Look at your mom. Look what she had for a sister.
So what is Quidditch?
It's our sport. Wizard sport. It's like soccer in the Muggle world. Everyone follows Quidditch. Played up in the air on broomsticks. And there's 4 balls. Sort of hard to explain the rules.
Top of page 80.
And what are Slytherin and Hufflepuff? Schoolhouses. There's 4. Everyone says Hufflepuff are a lot of duffers, but
I bet I'm in Hufflepuff, said Harry gloomily.
Better Hufflepuff than Slytherin,
said Hagrid darkly.
There's not a single witch or wizard who went bad who wasn't in Slytherin. You know who was one? Do you know who was at Hogwarts? Years and years ago, said Hagrid.
They bought Harry's school books in a shop called Flourish and Bots, where the shelves were stacked to the ceiling with books as large as paving stones bound in leather, books the size of postage stamps and covers of silk, books of peculiar symbols, and a few books with nothing in them at all. Even Dudley, who never read anything, would have been wild to get his hands on some of these. Hagrid almost had to drag Harry away from curses and counter-curses, bewitch your friends and befuddle your enemies with the latest revenges, hair loss, jelly legs, tongue-tying, and much, much more by Professor Vindictus Viridin. I was trying to find out how to curse Dudley.
I'm not saying that's not a good idea, but you're not to use magic in the Muggle world, except in very special circumstances, said Hagrid. And anyway, you couldn't work any of them curses yet. You'll need a lot more study before you get to that level.
Hagrid wouldn't let Harry buy a solid gold cauldron either.
It says pewter on your list.
But they got a nice set of scales for weighing potion ingredients and a collapsible brass telescope. Then they visited the apothecary, which was fascinating enough to make up for its horrible smell. A mixture of bad eggs and rotten cabbages. Yuckaroo. Barrels of slimy stuff stood on the floor. Jars of herbs, dried roots, and bright powders lined the walls. Bundles of feathers, strings of fangs, and snarled claws hung from the ceiling. While Hagrid asked the man behind the counter for a supply of some basic potion ingredients for Harry, Harry himself examined silver unicorn horns at 21 galleons each and minuscule glittery black beetle eyes for 5 newts a scoop. Outside the apothecary, Hagrid checked Harry's list again.
Just your wand left. Oh, yeah, and I still haven't got you a birthday present.
Harry felt himself go red.
You don't have to. I know I don't have to. Tell you what, I'll get you your animal. Not a toad. Toads went out of fashion years ago. You'd be laughed at. And I don't like cats. They make me sneeze. I'll get you an owl. All the kids want owls. They're dead useful. Carry your mail and everything.
All the kids want owls. 20 minutes later, they left Aesop's Owl Emporium, which had been dark and full of rustling and flickering jewel-bright eyes. Harry now carried a large cage that held a beautiful snowy owl. Oh, and this is the owl. This is her, guys. Don't be jealous. Let's sit right here for a minute. No flying. No flying. This is the owl that Harry bought, a snowy, snow white owl. Oh, boo. It says, 20 minutes later, they left Aelop's Owl Emporium, which had been dark and full of rustling and flickering jewel-bright eyes. Harry now carried a large cage that held a beautiful snowy owl, fast asleep with her head under her wing. He couldn't stop stammering his thanks, sounding just like Professor Quirrell.
Don't mention it, Hagrid said gruffly. Don't expect you've had a lot of presents from them Dursleys. Just Ollivander's left now. Only place for wands. Ollivander's, and you gotta have the best wand.
A magic wand. This was what Harry had really been looking forward to. And we're going to stop there, 6th graders. Tomorrow we will start on the top of page 82. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Bye-bye.